Welcome to The Final Edit, a podcast brought to you by Maison, a private network for 7 to 9 figure female founders where women redefine success, legacy, and influence.
We're your hosts, Maritza Toban and Hannah Nieves. We're co-founders, mothers, and builders behind a billion-dollar vision.
These conversations are with leading founders who are shaping the industry and the future as they build it.
Welcome to The Final Edit. Welcome to another episode of The Final Edit. I am so excited. Today we have another Maison member spotlight, and we are sitting down with the fantastic Jamie Gasparovic of Studio Gaspo Design. And Jamie, welcome to the show. We are both so stoked that you're here. I know this conversation is going to be really fun for Hannah as well, since she has a background, in the real estate and design arena. So we're just thrilled to have you here, and we're also so happy that you're one of our Maisons and that you said yes to joining us on this podcast launch. So thank you for being here. Before we kick everything off, I would love to know, can you please introduce our audience to the Jamie origin story? Who is Jamie before this fantastic millionaire woman that is standing before us today?
Before I became a villain. My origin story, I don't think about that much. I think about my business origin story quite a bit, but I moved around quite a bit as a kid. So I feel like that has informed a lot of my life in terms of just, I've been in different areas. I've made different places home. You know, I was always into, like every designer says, into creating my bedroom very specifically. I had a jungle print bedspread that I desperately wanted for birthdays. Like that's the kind of things I was asking for. So I think I've always been how to focus on home, how to focus on design and connection. Like moving to new places, you have to make new friends, you have to make new connections. So I think, and that's like one of the things I love about Maison is the connection piece. So thank you guys so much for having me. But yeah, I moved around. I went to school for advertising and then stayed on and got my master's in international business as well. I was always very high achieving, straight A, type A person, and honestly never thought of myself as creative, which is kind of funny to think about now. That has been a big identity shift for me, I think, stepping into this business and just who I truly am. I say as I get older, I become more type B, but I think that's who I really am. And I was just kind of making myself be type A for a while.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I majored in advertising. I worked for a big vacation company in their in-house advertising department, and I was on the not creative side. I was on the account management side. So I was on the I've got my shit together. I'm the organized person. I'm the person doing the spreadsheets and the more admin side of this. And then I'm working with the creatives, but I'm not the creative. So it's been like a big shift coming into, owning a design firm, being a principal designer. That has been interesting.
That's so interesting that you said that too, because I had my childhood cousin that actually just spent this past week with me, and she was telling me, she's like, wow, you've always been so creative. And I was like, really? Because somewhere along the line, it's like I didn't identify, anymore as like being creative. I couldn't even really recall like if I was or wasn't. Yeah. And I say that just because sometimes when my kids want to do arts and crafts or they have projects, that like need a lot of creativity. I was like, I don't know that I'm like the creative arts and crafts mom. So even just that reframe, of like, maybe I've always been creative and I do have the creativity in me, is just like finding the right outlet too. I think is so important.
In what way are you creative? And like you said, arts and crafts, like it doesn't have to be that. I suck at drawing. Like I am so bad at drawing. I don't do music, so I think some of these things where traditionally like that's the stereotype of being creative. I'm not necessarily those things, but like you, Maritza, like you're full of ideas. And I think that to me, that's what I think of creativity as now, is like, I am just an endless well of ideas and like the next great idea, the next big thing, the next innovative thing. And I see so much of that in you. So I think you are so creative.
I'm never out of ideas or random domain names that I love to buy.
Yes, it's a blessing and a curse.
But don't ask me to build a volcano by all means. Not for me.
I love it. So, okay, fast forward to now, you have Studio Gaspo and you've built such a distinct luxury design firm. So I'm just curious, like, where did it start versus where it is now? Like, has your design changed over time? Like, what did that look like?
Yes, completely. I mean, everything has changed. And I think that in general, I'm someone who's always evolving. I'm always learning. I'm always looking for the next thing. And so that has been true in my business as well. And even just in terms of design style, I feel like I've cycled through a bunch to get to where I am now. I think I have a pretty established aesthetic, but that was not the case. And I had to do a lot of projects, a lot of different designs in a lot of different styles to sort of land on, okay, what does really resonate with me? What feels like me? What feels like my brand? And where I'm really in my element with design. And it was an evolution for sure. And I always say, like, with anything, you have to get the reps in. I don't think anyone comes out of the gate like your first design is not your best design. You know, I think if you're not looking back on that in 7 years, like I am now, going, oh my God, that's what was I doing? Holy crap. You know, you're not like evolving enough.
Yeah. And on that point too, in one of our other episodes with Sam Reen, we talked about how we're sometimes even like inadvertently striving that we don't take the time, you know, to like celebrate to the reps that we have put in, because we continuously raise the bar for ourselves. And I think a lot of our listeners, you know, can resonate with that. And also one of the unfortunate downsides of social media too, is that, especially if you've been in business for a while, right? Like you didn't have the opportunity to chronicle your entire business journey. And not everyone in your audience is finding you, you know, when you were bootstrapping, like when you were doing those hard things. So they only see, you know, like what you're celebrating today. And it's like, we almost forget like, oh no, they have a journey. There is a background, you know, it wasn't always what we see today. It still isn't, you know, like smooth sailing.
Right.
So also on that note, I know that you bootstrapped to 7 figures in your design business. And you've mentioned in the past that that's rare in your industry. In that journey, what like phase of growth did you think you had to work the most on yourself or on like the industry to get to that level?
Great question. I think why I said it was rare is because in creative businesses, people are often really great at their craft, but they are not great at the business side. It's not taught in school. Their brain doesn't work that way. They're, you know, I'm right brained and I can do this amazingly, but I don't know how to monetize it or set up systems or run a business. So I think, you know, I told you I'm kind of a recovering type A. I do think that served me, and I have a business degree and I have marketing background. So all of those things really helped me not only be a good creative, but a good business owner as well. And I think a lot of people in the design industry and probably across other creative industries are missing that piece. And then as far as working on myself, I mean, again, that is a constant. I feel like that is all I do. And I said this to someone else recently, but I'm like, everything in both parenting and business, I think like the answer is go back and work on yourself. Everything. Like you want your kid to be calm, go figure out how to regulate your own emotions. Like you want to do this in business, like go figure out how to feel confident in yourself and what your value is. Like everything comes back to that. So I've just placed a huge focus on that through, you know, investing in mentorship, investing in relationships, investing in, you know, reading a shit ton of books and, you know, all of these things to just continuously like make myself 1% better every day.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, it's such a constant too. And I feel even for us, the journey that we're currently in, it's like, yes, we became, you know, experts in one part of our business or the companies that we had before. But now as we're scaling tech companies, it's like we're having to relearn a whole new way of business and of operating and of doing things. And so I feel like there is also that misconception. And I think, sure, if you stay stagnant, you know, or just like in one single direction, you know, maybe you master that. But if you're someone that's evolving or adding, you know, new things into your business, there's an aspect of learning and constantly pouring back into yourself as well.
Yes, 100%. And also I think I'm sure it's this way in a lot of businesses, but with design, there's constantly new product coming out, new technology, new materials, new, so even if you're like, okay, I've somehow learned everything about every material and every option out there today, tomorrow it's different. So you haven't. So I think even if you were, quote unquote, just running your design business the same way for a long time, which, I am not, and I'm always trying to do something different. But even if you were, there's still, you're never done learning. And I think if you think you are, you're sorely mistaken.
I love that. Okay, so I'd love to shift gears a little bit more around like your brand philosophy is all around like ordinary isn't an option, which I love.
Thank
you. As someone, even for us with Maison, like positioning Maison as a luxury brand, right, has, I don't want to say it's pros and cons, right? Like there is this curation, tied to it. There's this brand positioning that's tied to it. So I'm just curious, on your end, how, like, I guess, like what's been the most challenging aspect of like, okay, you have this beautifully articulated design and brand, like how do you also show up in these like non-glamorous times? I'm sure there's plenty of them in the design world. I'm just curious like how you balance that with your brand.
Yeah, I think that I'm very careful about what I show. And I always say like, maybe what you're doing or what you will do is different than what you're publicizing or promoting. And not that you're being fake, but it's like all of our brand messaging is geared toward, we do large scale projects, we do full homes. Is that to say that we would never do a one-off amazing room for an amazing client? Like if the situation is right, like, yes, we might, but that's not what I'm putting out there because that's not what I'm trying to get back. So I think just being super intentional about what I'm showing to the world and what I'm promoting and marketing us as, versus like what we might do on the back end to keep the lights on sometimes or what have you, are just two different things. And again, not to be like, I always say, I can't lie to save my life. Like I'm the most authentic person ever. So not like I'm putting on a front and then doing something else, but I think it's just like smart marketing. And if you're trying to have a luxury brand, you've got to keep it at a certain level to maintain that. So I do, it can be a challenge for sure, but I think that's it, like being very intentional, even with project photos. Like we have so many projects that we don't show for one reason or another. And, and it's like, maybe it's not the exact aesthetic fit. I think you just, again, get back what you're putting out. So if I'm not happy to get a project just like the ones that I'm showing, then I won't show it.
And you said something that caught my attention because that's one of the reasons why I love you and I feel like we're kindreds in this way. And it's how you cut through the fluff and you're always so authentic too. And I feel like, yes, you have, you're a luxury, studio, and that for sure shows, in your work and what you're putting out there. But you also talk about things, that most people wouldn't consider, or it's more transparent than what you normally see being put out with like these type of scaled projects. What do you feel that is one unfiltered truth about the design industry that most people don't talk about publicly or share or want people to know?
Ooh, I have so many. I think that a lot of it is just like people putting on, I don't know if this is answering your question, but that there's this sense of intimidation or facade around interior designers or interior design. And for a long time, I thought like, I don't belong here. I didn't, again, back to like the identity piece when I was first getting into it, I thought there's a really specific way I have to be to like be this designer and trying to sort of fit into that mold, which was not me and didn't go well. And I think just like figuring out how to be your authentic self. And with design, to me, I guess what I'm trying to get at is luxury to me is not like this stuffy, intimidating thing.
Yeah.
I think luxury is like someone seeing you, someone getting your story and what you want to tell through your space and being really personalized and connected and having it. That to me is luxury, not like this, fancy things that you can't touch and like, this is this brand and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care about that. I want it to be authentic to you and tell your story.
And I know that's one of your philosophies too, you know, just like the person's like almost brand and vibe and aesthetic being reflected in their space, which is, honestly, I feel like is why your work is so beautiful and captivating. And even just like the type of accents and things that you pick for people, like the stone that must, for your clients, it must be like such a strong reflection of like what they kind of wanted for those spaces. I think you do such an amazing job at that, and you have to be in tune, you know, with that authenticity piece so that you can also help people unlock that in themselves, you know? So
and that's it. And I think just trying to dive into, like, you're hiring this luxury service, you know, it's not cheap, it's an investment. And why would you invest in that if you just want the house that your neighbor has? If you're happy with a white box that everyone else has, like, there's no sense. That would be silly. Do not hire me. Like, if you just want something common that doesn't really represent you, that's pretty generic, like, that's fine, but don't invest in a designer. You know, I think it should be really someone to help you bring out, again, those core pieces of your story, what's meaningful to you, and reflect that in your space.
I love that. And I love that you're also like rewriting like what luxury means, because especially in the design world and coming from that world myself personally, like there's always this like, you know, perception of what this actually looks like. And that's even for us, like how we're even designing Maison. It's just like rewriting like what we think we need to be doing or what society thinks and whatnot. But love to shift gears here and talk a little bit about like your growth on the design end. And I know that you shared a little bit more about, okay, like you've bootstrapped your design brand, you know, 2 7 figures on your own, which is incredible, but you know that going alone is not going to get you there to the next level. So I'm just curious on how are you building like connections and growing your own influence in this next chapter of your firm, because you're attracting like high level clients.
Yeah, great question. So first of all, I invested in hiring a full-time employee, which has been huge. She is amazing. Literally I have lots of design friends. Everyone's jealous of her. Everyone's like, how do I get one of her on my team? She's amazing. I cannot sing her praises enough. And she's the most humble person in the world. So she's like, no, me? And I'm like, no, you're freaking amazing. So that I think is huge. She's been with me almost a year. And that's been such a game changer in terms of the level of deliverable that we can put out, the amount of time that I can now spend actually doing CEO things and going and making connections and coming to Tampa for the day to film with you guys, because I don't have to be strapped to a computer 24/7 to do the design work. I have someone helping on that front. So that has been huge. And then I think also just making the effort to network, to make connections. Again, that's such a huge part of design. And I just always think of myself as like out there planting seeds. It's not the kind of industry where I'm like going out on the hunt to get a job that day. I just want to genuinely connect with people, see, you know, kind of where that takes me. And you never know what's going to turn up from like, oh, this random connection I made 2 years ago. I sat next to a woman on the Bright Line going to Miami who then followed me on Instagram, then inquired about our services. So it's just so like, you never know what's going to happen. And I just love sort of being open to the universe and where it's going to take me and what connections are going to come and how that can, you know, help me really keep growing in the business too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love when you find that one hire, you know, that really makes the difference. So you can see it opens up those other opportunities for you as a CEO too, to like explore, step into something new. So I'm so happy to hear that. I know that in your work and what you are doing and the way that you look at things, you are challenging, you know, a norm in the design industry, and you are evolving into someone, you know, that is looking at a space as more than just a room, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about that evolution and where you're at today?
Yeah, I think that people can think of design as this really superficial, surface level thing, like, oh, it's just a pretty room. And that just doesn't take into account, like, you know, we walked into this hotel and everyone's like, wow, I'm having all these business downloads.
Yep.
I'm having these deep conversations. We're so excited to have a drink at the bar. Like it just elevates everything. And it's kind of indescribable. You know, it's it's a little bit hard to like put your finger on, but you just feel like, wow, I can be my best self in this space because of what this is inspiring and bringing out in me. So I just feel like it's so much deeper than like, oh yeah, you have a cute picture and a cute paint color, especially when it's your own home where it's like you can have meaningful objects around you. You can be designing a space to inspire you to get to that next level. Like
Love that.
I just did my own home office, which was long overdue. And the energy difference of sitting at my awesome desk with my brand color, you know, custom bookshelves behind me, like I just feel like, oh my God, yep, I'm going to take over the world right here. This is amazing versus sitting at my, you know, 10-year-old desk in the corner with shit all around me. Like it's just such a different vibe. And I think that people know it when they feel it. Like when they walk into a space with great design, everyone is like, this is, you know, everyone's Instagramming it, everyone's talking about it. But I think they don't like realize how important that is. And if you're in that every day, how much that can impact your life in a positive way.
Do you think that designers should challenge their clients when a client comes to them with like a Pinterest board that is, you know, something that, no offense, but like let's say shiplap or when that like
Not
everybody was doing that, you know, and it's like
Yes.
everybody would like, to your point, because I live in a very cookie cutter neighborhood. No offense to any of my neighbors that are listening. But it's very cookie cutter. It's the suburbs. And I feel like everyone, you know, does tend to follow the same style. So do you think that the interior designer should play a role in challenging those like Pinterest board mood boards that look like everybody else to help their clients like find clarity in what their vibe is?
Yeah, I do 100%. And I am very clear about that. You've probably seen on my Instagram. I'm like, you know, I just, again, I can't help but tell it like it is to people. And I think if you hate that and you just want someone to yes you, then you won't hire me. And that's great because I'm not going to yes you. So I think that also a big part of it is like they're hiring you to be the expert. So in my expert opinion, I cannot condone this crappy, outdated Pinterest board. So I'm going to tell you like, okay, I feel like this is outdated for these reasons. Tell me what you're resonating with out of this. What do you like about that? Do you even like something about that? Or is it just what you've seen a million times? So it's like familiar to you? Because that's another thing. It's like the mere exposure effect. Like you like things that you've just seen a lot. So sometimes people don't even know what they like. So trying to delve more into that or extract something, like if they want a shiplap wall, it's like, do you like the fact that there's like texture or it's not just blank drywall? Like what's the core thing that you're liking from this? And how can I take that and then make it into something way cooler than just an accent wall of shiplap for you? So I for sure push back. I think designers should push back because that is part of your expertise. And you know, on the flip side, at the end of the day, it's the person's home. So it always comes back down to like, you need to love it. This is your space. It's your home. You have the ultimate like veto, trump card, all of that. But this is what I'm going to advise you as the expert in this space. If you really want to override me, okay, that's your prerogative. But again, going back to like what you put out there, I try to put out there like, if you just want this basic Pinterest board, don't come to me. There's plenty of designers out there that will do that for you happily, probably more cheaply than I will, you know, like go find them. There's someone for everyone and no one's wrong. It's just the way that I do things. And there's certain people that align better with that.
Yeah.
I love that. I just love you so much.
I know, that's so good.
So I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into just like design in general, because like you hit on before how like your design of your space, your room, whether it's your office, etc., like really can influence you and can make change in your everyday in terms of business. And I know there's probably a lot of people who are listening in that might be in like at the corner of their bedroom, you know, working because they don't have another bedroom, i.e. me right now.
I was just going to say that. I'm like, Hannah's like talking about herself right now. With her desk in front of her window in her room.
So this question really is for me, but
someone wants to know.
But like, what would you recommend for someone listening in who is like, damn, like I really need to refresh where my space is. I have big visions, big goals. Like, where the hell do you like recommend for anyone who's listening to even just like start to even like clarify like what their style is? Because I know for me, like my style, oh my God, has changed so much. Yeah. And even for me, I'm still finding like what my like signature style is.
Yeah. I think that bringing awareness to it is like a huge first piece, because if you're just flying through life not really thinking about it, then you don't know. But if it's top of mind, now when you're out at a restaurant, you can think, what am I drawn to? What am I loving in here? Do I like that light? Do I like the treatment on the wall? Like, just start noticing what kinds of things you're drawn to when you do see things that you like out in the wild or on a Pinterest board, that kind of thing. I think Pinterest is great. Like, you know, we're making fun of it a bit, but I use Pinterest all the time for projects, to save things, to gather inspiration. And I think that if you pin enough things and then sort of study those images, like what is it that you are drawn to? We do this with our clients, you know. If I pin this room, is it like that I like the coffee table but ignore the light, or I like the vibe, or what pieces of it are resonating? And then sort of start to notice patterns. Like, I pin stuff for my own aesthetic too on Pinterest, where I'm like, this Pinterest board would be my dream job. And then I look at what are the common denominators there. It's like natural like crazy, bold, natural stone, moody colors, like really interesting light fixtures. You know, there's some themes that emerge. So I think like getting clear on that, just bringing awareness to it, and then noticing, and sort of, even if it's a notes app in your phone or something, cataloging, what are these things that keep coming up that I'm drawn to? And then also I think like the power of paint. It's so cheap. It's so easy. You can do it in 2 days, and it's like, it can totally change a space. So if you're stuck in a corner, you know, you don't have the funds right now, even if you're in a rental, it's like you can paint it and paint it back likely. So I think that can make a huge difference in how a space feels.
Yeah. And to those listening, I'll give you a little hack, a little AI hack. It was only a matter of time before it was going to come out. It was only a matter of time before I had to bring Chatty Girl, aka ChatGPT, into the conversation. But for me, as not a native English speaker, sometimes it's hard for me to articulate my vision or what I'm trying to say. So I recently redesigned an entire like space in my home, and I had pinned things for a really long time. And then I just took those, the boards, basically, I just screenshotted them right from my laptop and put them into ChatGPT and asked it to help me articulate that to my you know, to my designer. I was like, give me terminology, you know, that she's going to understand. And also like, what are the common themes? What are the threads that you see here? What am I drawn to? What are some like additional, I even asked it like, if I was a famous monument, you know, like what am I? That type of thing too. So I can then look further into those things. And I was a Gothic cathedral, which is so honest. It's so on brand for that space too.
Yeah, I love that space.
So yeah, for those of you listening, you know, that's something that you can also do if you're like, well, I don't know what my style is, you know,
and I was going to say, Maritza, that is not anything to do with you not speaking English natively. Like, that is literally everyone. People
I never know.
So bad at style words. Like I see it all, you know, people are saying, I like modern, and they're showing me their inspiration images. And I'm like, this is not, you know, this is this style. Or so no one knows.
That makes me feel so much better.
It is definitely not just you.
I blame everything on no English, you know?
Nope. Everyone's in that same boat with you.
That's hilarious.
Oh my goodness. I love this. So going back to like just design as a whole, like obviously you've been in the industry for like a really long time and have seen the ebbs and flows of design. So I'm just curious, like in this new phase of like where you're bringing your firm, like, is there anything you're looking to like redefine in luxury design?
Ooh. Again, I just think the whole concept of instead of looking to other people or looking to trends or what is this article saying, or this is what I quote unquote should do because this is what other luxury, I'm air quoting everything, people are doing, like really looking into yourself and redefining that luxury. Like luxury is this space being tailor-made to me. Exactly. This is like a freaking custom suit here. And don't worry about what everyone else is doing and trying to copy that or think that's what it is. It's like really look into yourself and the things that resonate with you, the things that you love. Like I walk into my house and I am obsessed with my dining room light fixture and it makes me happy every time I look at it. And I'm like, that is what your house should be full of. Things that you want to like stare at and marvel at every day and that make you excited and that inspire you. So just really like getting internal with it, not looking at trends, not looking for someone else to like validate what luxury is.
Yeah, I think that's really good for you too, because but also when you walk in my house and or when you see the speakeasy room, you're always like, oh my gosh, I just like love this room. I think you're entering your like snake era.
Ooh, I love a snake.
Yes, I'm definitely more moody now.
Yes,
for sure.
You are for sure like entering your like dark, your villain era.
I mean, wait, that is so true. That is so true. And meanwhile, I'm living in like a white box right now. So that's all right.
Yeah, so then there's like dissonance there where you're like, this is not reflecting,
my
there's
style.
like that, that term of psychology where it's like literally you're looking at this and you're like, this does not reflect who I am and who I'm becoming and the vibe that I want. So it's like there's some frustration there probably.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, she knows.
Yeah, but it's also like part of the transition.
I'm in a transition.
Like, I was just saying you're in a limbo
roots,
thing. Yeah,
right. So when you're in
it's acceptable for now, but
But to your point, it's like even if you're in a rental or you're in a period of transition, finding those like little pieces that will make you feel closer to. Yeah. Even if you have to paint it back, to the original state, it'd be worth it for like your own mental health and like creative spark. So that was great advice.
So also like the small items, like the small objects, the things that you carry with you. Like even for me, like in our rental right now, like I obviously a lot of our stuff is still back at our farm, but like I still brought like a lot of my antiques that I have on like the dining room table that I look at and like I think of that memory going to the antique shop and like little things like
those
that. Just
statues that you love to
carry
around.
But it's just like little things like that. But I really love just like also like the sensory experiences too.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, what do you see, but also like what do you smell and all those different types of things. So for anyone listening in, definitely maybe get some new candles or something along those lines. That might be helpful. This is so good. I feel like we just need to do like a separate episode literally just on design as a whole. But I want to ask you our final question, which is the founder's path is a constant evolution. So draft after draft, we get closer to our own truth. So I'm just curious, what's something that you are holding on to right now that reminds you like, okay, I'm on the right path. I got to keep going.
Oh my goodness. It's a real whammy at the end here, guys. I think honestly, looking back helps me a lot because like you were saying earlier, Maritza, like I am that person. I'm sure, most of us are here where you are just moving the goalpost and nothing ever feels like enough, or it's very easy to just downplay the accomplishments that you've had, especially, I think we were talking about this on a call, but I'm like, I am a pretty humble person. I don't like people that are like egotistical in that way, but I think there's a balance of you can celebrate and acknowledge, wow, I've actually done a lot and I've come a long way without being like an asshole about it. So I think, looking back where I'm like, oh my God, if Jamie from 7 years ago was looking at me right now, you'd be like, what? You've made how much money? What? You're doing what? Like, you have what clients and what projects? Like, that's insane. Like, I would be so excited. Yeah. And so I think just like looking at that gap there, and that helps me really appreciate like where I've come, and I know where I'm going. Like I always have an eye on where I'm going. And I don't think that's the problem for me. It's more like, how do I really appreciate where I've gotten to thus far and
love that,
enjoy that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it on that note, yesterday, Hannah and I had a really extensive, deep session with a storytelling coach that we're working with. His name is Terry Rice. He's amazing. And I was sharing like a blocker that I kind of have that has a lot to do, with this like constant raising the bar, all the things. And he just said to me, he was like, Maritza, if that little girl that came to America, that 9-year-old girl was looking at you today, you know, like what would you say to her?
Yeah.
And how would she feel seeing you now? And that gutted me in the
Yeah,
best
she'd be
possible
blown
way.
away.
So I
Yeah.
like, what, you speak English?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
are you
that's
talking
right.
about? People don't know you have an accent
Yes.
sometimes. What? So I think, you know, to everyone listening, if you're ever going through, you know, anything at all, and you're like questioning yourself or feeling, you know, imposter syndrome or not getting the right opportunities, I think that beautiful exercise of like talking to your younger self, you know, and it really helps to put things in perspective. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for having been on the podcast.
Yeah,
thank you
for
for
having
being
me.
a member. You are so amazing. I hope that you all enjoyed this episode. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's my main social hangout at Studio Gaspo. And then my website is studiogaspo.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
being here.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening.